Alright, what's going on everybody, frik back with another video, and in this one I'm just going to be explaining to you guys how you can get yourself some higher stat armor, and I guess I'll touch on kind of how attribute points work and how they end up rolling on gear. The first thing that you are going to want to do is build yourself up some war table engrams. As you guys can see here, I have 90. You definitely don't need that many. I've just been farming up engrams for a while, but definitely get yourself some. That way you have a bunch to work with in the beginning and can just decode a bunch at once. So you're going to want to head over to the war table, and the first thing that I am going to do is explain kind of how the attribute points roll on armor. I'm going to try to keep this very short and simple, but it might be a little bit hard to understand if you have to rewind the video, or just if you have any questions, you can go ahead and feel free to drop them in the comments. I will try to respond to all of them. I usually do. The easiest way for me to explain this is to break the 6 attribute points, mobility, resilience, and recovery, and discipline, intellect, and strength into 2 buckets. So the top 3, mobility, resilience, and recovery, will be 1 bucket, whereas the bottom 3, discipline, intellect, and strength, will be a 2nd bucket. And I'm going to throw a visual or something on screen to kind of help you guys visualize this a little bit better, but just keep that in mind. The first 3 are 1 bucket, the bottom 3 are 2nd bucket. So looking at this pair of gauntlets, for example, we see I have 4 mobility, 22 in resilience, and 10 in recovery. So 22 in resilience is pretty high. That's the top bucket, and most of the points went into resilience, which means mobility and recovery have to be lower, which again is because there's only so many points that can be distributed between the 3 attributes in one of these buckets. So looking at the bottom bucket, for example, we see that again, discipline ate up most of the points, so intellect and strength have to be lower. So in the 2nd bucket, I have 22 into discipline, then 14 into strength, which means that intellect has to be really low. So I hope that works as a good depiction of how the attribute points end up getting scattered onto gear. There's only so many points that can be distributed on a piece of gear, and that's why it's so good to get really high roll gear to begin with. So when something drops at say 59 total, that's obviously not good. You're going to want to look for something that's upwards of 65, 66, 67. But this is a really good way to get gear. So we're going to head over to the war table, and we can just go into the menu. Now, coming over to our ghost, we see that I have this discipline armor mod on. And now what this is going to do is, if you read the description, it's going to guarantee a minimum of 10 into my discipline. So in my bottom bucket, I'm going to be guaranteed at least 10 discipline. Now that doesn't guarantee that intellect and strength will be super low. It does give me at least a good jump start, but it doesn't guarantee that I'm going to get a god roll every single time. And not to mention, there's an entire top bucket that is completely randomized. You're only guaranteeing yourself at least a decent roll in the bottom bucket. So I'm going to keep the discipline mod on, and I'm going to go decode a piece of armor, and we're going to see what I get. So another pair of gauntlets. And as you guys can see here, I got 11 into discipline and 19 into strength. So this is kind of a perfect example of how it's not perfect, and you're going to want to guarantee yourself a bunch of rolls at this. So stack up your engrams. As you can see in the 2nd bucket, we got 11 into discipline, which is the mod working on the ghost. Then we got 2 into intellect and 19 into strength. So there was a total of 32 points that were used in the bottom bucket. So you can see 32 and 32 for a total of 64, meaning that 32 attribute points were used in the top bucket and 32 attribute points were used in the bottom bucket. But I just wanted to make a video to give you guys a heads up that the war table does give you some high stat armor and is worth farming some engrams for as we head into season 21. That way we can get some good builds crafted, or at least prepared as we head into the next season. But that's going to do it for the video. Thank you guys for sticking around until the end, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.